The story begins with Rebecca Martinez, a 28-year-old nursing student in Denver, Colorado, who seemed to have found love with Tyler Williams, a 31-year-old construction supervisor. Friends and family describe their early relationship as passionate and intense. Rebecca met Tyler at a local sports bar in March 2019, and within months they were living together in a small apartment downtown. However, beneath the surface, warning signs emerged. Rebecca's sister Jennifer noticed bruises on her arms during family gatherings. Rebecca's co-workers at the hospital where she worked part-time observed her becoming increasingly withdrawn and anxious. Tyler displayed possessive behavior, frequently calling Rebecca during her shifts and showing up unannounced at her workplace. The couple's relationship deteriorated rapidly over the summer of 2019. Neighbors reported hearing loud arguments coming from their apartment. Rebecca confided in her best friend Lisa that Tyler had become controlling and verbally abusive. Despite encouragement from loved ones, Rebecca struggled to leave the relationship, citing Tyler's threats and her financial dependence on him. Part 2. The Breaking Point. In September 2019, Rebecca finally gathered the courage to end the relationship. She moved out of their shared apartment with help from her brother Marcus and filed a restraining order against Tyler. Court documents revealed a pattern of escalating abuse, including physical violence and threats against Rebecca's life. Tyler violated the restraining order multiple times, leading to his arrest on 2 separate occasions. Despite spending nights in jail, he continued to harass Rebecca through text messages, phone calls, and by following her to work and school. Rebecca documented these incidents and reported them to police, but felt the system was failing to protect her. On October 15, 2019, Rebecca's family noticed she seemed unusually optimistic. She had been accepted into an accelerated nursing program and was making plans to move to Arizona to start fresh. She told her sister that she finally felt free and was looking forward to rebuilding her life away from Tyler's influence. Party 3. The night. Everything changed. October 18, 2019 started as an ordinary Friday evening. Rebecca finished her shift at the hospital and drove to her temporary apartment where she had been staying since leaving Tyler. Security cameras captured her arriving home at approximately 8:30 p.m., carrying groceries and her nursing textbooks. At 9:45 p.m., neighbors heard what they initially thought was a car backfiring. Mrs. Patterson, who lived next door, later told investigators she heard a woman screaming, followed by a loud crash. When police arrived at 10:15 p.m. after receiving multiple 911 calls, they found Rebecca's apartment door ajar. Inside, they discovered Rebecca Martinez dead from multiple gunshot wounds. The apartment showed signs of a struggle, with overturned furniture and Rebecca's belongings scattered throughout the living room. Investigators found no signs of forced entry, suggesting Rebecca knew her attacker and had let them inside. Part 4. The investigation unfolds. Detective Sarah Thompson took lead on the case and immediately focused on Tyler Williams as the prime suspect. However, Tyler had seemingly vanished after the murder. His truck was found abandoned at a gas station, 3 miles from Rebecca's apartment, and his cell phone had been turned off since the evening of the crime. A massive manhunt ensued, with law enforcement agencies across Colorado and neighboring states searching for Tyler. His photograph was distributed to media outlets, and a substantial reward was offered for information leading to his arrest. Tyler's family cooperated with investigators but claimed they had no knowledge of his whereabouts. The investigation revealed Tyler had purchased a handgun 2 weeks before the murder, despite being prohibited from owning firearms due to his domestic violence charges. Store surveillance footage showed him appearing calm and collected during the purchase, contradicting his later claims of acting in a moment of passion. Forensic evidence linked Tyler to the crime scene, including gunpowder residue on clothing found in his abandoned truck and his fingerprints on Rebecca's apartment door. Phone records showed he had been tracking Rebecca's movements in the days leading up to her murder. Part 5. Capture and the disturbing reaction. After 3 weeks on the run, Tyler Williams was apprehended at a motel in rural Nevada on November 8, 2019. He had been working odd jobs under a false name and had grown a beard to disguise his appearance. Local law enforcement officers recognized him from wanted posters and arrested him without incident. During his arrest and subsequent mugshot session, Tyler displayed behavior that shocked seasoned law enforcement officers. Instead of showing remorse or concern about the serious charges he faced, Tyler smiled broadly for his booking photos and made jokes with the arresting officers about his appearance. Most disturbing was Tyler's reaction when investigators informed him about the evidence against him. He laughed openly and made crude comments about Rebecca's death, showing no sign of grief or regret. His callous demeanor was captured on police, station security cameras, and would later become crucial evidence in establishing his lack of remorse. The booking officer later testified that Tyler seemed almost proud of what he had done, asking if his mugshot would be on the news and expressing concern only about how he looked in the photographs. This behavior stood in stark contrast to his defense team's later attempts to portray him as mentally unstable. Part 6. Justice and Aftermath. Tyler Williams was charged with first-degree murder, stalking, and weapons violations. His trial began in August 2020 and lasted 3 weeks. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence of his guilt, including DNA, evidence, surveillance footage, and testimony from Rebecca's friends and family about Tyler's threats and abusive behavior. The defense attempted to argue that Tyler was mentally ill and had acted in a moment of temporary insanity. However, his cavalier behavior during arrest and his methodical planning of the crime undermined these claims. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours before finding Tyler guilty on all charges. During the sentencing phase, Rebecca's family delivered powerful victim impact statements. Her sister Jennifer spoke about the vibrant, caring person Rebecca had been, and how Tyler had stolen not only her life, but also her dreams of becoming a nurse and helping others. Rebecca's mother collapsed while describing the pain of losing her daughter to senseless violence. Tyler Williams was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Even during sentencing, he showed no remorse, smirking as the judge read his punishment and making dismissive gestures toward Rebecca's family. His lack of humanity shocked everyone present in the courtroom. The case highlighted serious flaws in the domestic violence protection system and led to policy changes in Colorado regarding restraining order enforcement. Rebecca's family established a foundation in her memory to help other domestic violence victims escape abusive relationships and pursue their educational goals. Tyler Williams remains incarcerated at a maximum security facility in Colorado, where he continues to show no remorse for his actions. The case serves as a tragic reminder of how domestic violence can escalate to murder and the importance of taking threats seriously before it's too late. The heat of August 2019 brought more than just sweltering temperatures to Denver. It brought the night that changed everything for Rebecca Martinez. She had just finished her evening shift at Denver General Hospital, where she worked as a nursing assistant. The work was hard, but she loved helping patients feel better. Rebecca always stayed late to make sure her patients were comfortable before going home. That night, she drove her small blue Honda through the quiet streets toward the apartment she shared with Tyler Williams. She felt tired but happy because one of her elderly patients had thanked her for being so kind. Rebecca loved those moments. That reminded her why she wanted to become a nurse. When Rebecca opened the apartment door, she immediately knew something was wrong. Tyler was sitting on the couch in the dark. Empty beer bottles covered the coffee table. The smell of alcohol filled the small living room. Tyler looked up at her with angry red eyes. Rebecca tried to act normal. She said hello and asked Tyler how his day went. She moved carefully toward the kitchen, hoping to avoid any trouble. Tyler had been drinking more lately and his temper had gotten worse. Rebecca had learned to be very careful around him when he was drunk. Tyler stood up suddenly and followed Rebecca into the kitchen. He started asking her questions about work. He wanted to know which doctor she talked to. He asked about the male nurses on her floor. Tyler accused Rebecca of flirting with men at the hospital. His voice got louder with each question. Rebecca tried to explain that she only talked to coworkers about patients and medical care. She told Tyler that he was being silly and that she would never look at another man. But Tyler was too drunk and too angry to listen to reason. Without any warning, Tyler grabbed Rebecca by the throat. His large hands wrapped around her neck as he pushed her against the kitchen wall. Rebecca could not breathe. She tried to pull his hands away, but Tyler was much stronger than her. He screamed that she was a liar and that he knew she was cheating on him. Rebecca managed to knee Tyler in the stomach. He let go of her throat and she ran to the bathroom. She locked the door and called her sister Jennifer with shaking hands. For the first time, Rebecca told someone the truth about what Tyler was doing to her. Jennifer could hear Tyler pounding on the bathroom door through the phone. He was shouting terrible things and threatening to break down the door. Jennifer told Rebecca to stay on the phone while she called 911. She could hear Rebecca crying and Tyler getting more violent outside the bathroom. The police arrived 20 minutes later. By then, Tyler had calmed down and was acting like nothing happened. He told the officers that Rebecca had been drinking and fell down. He said she was clumsy and always getting hurt. Tyler spoke in a calm voice and even smiled at the police. But the officers noticed the red marks on Rebecca's neck. They saw the hole in the kitchen wall where her head had hit. Rebecca showed them her bruised throat and told them what really happened. The police arrested Tyler for domestic violence and took him to jail. Rebecca spent that night at Jennifer's house. She could not stop shaking. Jennifer held her sister while Rebecca cried and told her about months of abuse. Rebecca admitted that Tyler hit her before, but never so badly. She said she was afraid. He might kill her if she tried to leave. The next morning, Jennifer helped Rebecca pack her clothes and important papers. They moved everything to a small studio apartment across town while Tyler sat in jail. Rebecca felt scared but also relieved. For the first time in months, she could breathe without fear. 3 days later, Rebecca walked into the Jefferson County Courthouse. Her hands shook as she filled out papers for a restraining order. She had to write down all the terrible things Tyler did to her. It was hard to put the abuse into words on paper. The hearing was scheduled for the following week. Rebecca had to sit in the same room as Tyler and tell a judge about the violence. She showed photographs of her bruises and told the court how Tyler controlled every part of her life. Tyler sat behind her staring with hatred in his eyes. Judge Patricia Coleman listened carefully to Rebecca's testimony. She looked at the photos and read the police reports. The judge granted the restraining order immediately. Tyler had to stay 500 feet away from Rebecca at all times. He could not go to her work or contact her family. Rebecca felt hopeful for the first time in months. She thought the restraining order would keep her safe. She was wrong. Within 1 week, Tyler broke the restraining order. He showed up at Denver General Hospital claiming he had chest pains. Security cameras caught him walking through the halls, looking for Rebecca. He was not sick. He was hunting for her. Hospital security called the police and escorted Tyler out. But by the time officers arrived, he was gone. Rebecca was terrified. She realized that a piece of paper could not protect her from Tyler's anger. The harassment got worse every day. Tyler sent Rebecca dozens of text messages. Some messages said he was sorry and wanted her back. Other messages threatened to hurt her if she did not come home. Tyler created fake social media accounts when Rebecca blocked his real ones. The worst messages described Rebecca's daily routine. Tyler wrote about what time she left for work and what she wore to school. He knew which grocery store she used and what car she drove. Rebecca realized Tyler was following her everywhere. On September 22nd, Tyler was arrested again. Rebecca's neighbor saw him sitting in his truck outside her apartment at 2 a.m. Police found binoculars in his truck and a notebook full of notes about Rebecca's schedule. He had been watching her like a predator watches prey. Tyler spent 3 days in jail, but was released on bond again. Rebecca felt helpless. She had a restraining order and police reports, but Tyler kept coming after her. The system was not protecting her from a dangerous man. In early October, Tyler left Rebecca a voicemail that made her blood run cold. His voice was calm and scary as he told her that if he could not have her, nobody could. He said restraining orders were just paper and could not save her life. Rebecca played the message for Detective Sarah Thompson. The detective promised they were building a stronger case against Tyler. She suggested Rebecca might want to leave Denver until Tyler could be arrested on more serious charges. But Rebecca refused to let Tyler destroy her dreams. She had been accepted to nursing school in Arizona starting in January 2020. She began planning her escape to a new state where Tyler could not find her. On October 15th, Rebecca seemed happier than she had been in months. She was organizing her belongings and researching apartments in Phoenix. Rebecca told Jennifer she finally felt like she was taking control of her life back. She was ready to start over far away from Tyler Williams. Rebecca did not know that Tyler had discovered her plans through a mutual friend. His surveillance had revealed her trips to shipping stores and her research about Arizona. In Tyler's twisted mind, Rebecca's escape plan was the ultimate betrayal. He would not let her get away. October 18, 2019 started like any other Friday for Rebecca Martinez. She woke up in her small studio apartment feeling hopeful about the future. The morning sun came through her window as she got ready for what would be her final shift at Denver General Hospital. Rebecca had given her 2 weeks' notice and was excited about moving to Arizona in just 2 months. Rebecca put on her blue scrubs and grabbed her nursing textbooks from the kitchen table. She was studying for her final exams before starting the accelerated nursing program. Her dream of becoming a registered nurse was finally within reach. Nothing was going to stop her now. At the hospital, Rebecca worked harder than usual. She wanted to leave a good impression on her last day. She helped elderly patients with their medications and comforted a young mother whose child was having surgery. Rebecca's co-workers threw her a small goodbye party in the break room with cake and coffee. Dr. Martinez told Rebecca she would miss having such a dedicated nursing assistant. The other nurses hugged Rebecca and wished her good luck in Arizona. Rebecca felt emotional saying goodbye to people who had become like family to her. But she was ready for a fresh start, away from Tyler Williams. Rebecca's shift ended at 8 p.m. She walked to her car in the hospital parking lot feeling tired but happy. The parking lot was well lit, and she could see security guards walking around. Rebecca felt safe at the hospital. It was one of the few places Tyler had not tried to follow her lately. She drove to the grocery store to buy food for the weekend. Rebecca picked up milk, bread, eggs, and ingredients to make her grandmother's famous chicken soup. She also bought a bottle of wine to celebrate finishing her last day of work. Rebecca felt like she was finally free to live her own life. The drive to her apartment took 15 minutes through quiet Denver streets. Rebecca listened to her favorite music and sang along. She thought about all the good things waiting for her in Arizona. A new school, new friends, and most importantly, no Tyler Williams to terrorize her every day. Rebecca parked in front of her apartment building at 8:30 p.m. Security cameras recorded her walking up the front steps carrying grocery bags and her heavy textbooks. She looked relaxed and happy. Rebecca had no idea that Tyler Williams was watching her from across the street. Tyler had been planning this night for weeks. He knew Rebecca's work schedule better than she did. He had followed her to the grocery store and waited for her to come home. Tyler parked his truck 3 blocks away and walked through the shadows to her building. Rebecca unlocked her apartment door and turned on the lights. She put her groceries on the kitchen counter and placed her textbooks on the small dining table. The apartment was tiny, but it was hers. No one could hurt her here, or so she thought. She started putting away groceries while thinking about what to have for dinner. Rebecca was looking forward to a quiet evening of studying and watching movies. She had rented 3 romantic comedies to celebrate her last day at the hospital. At 9:15 p.m., someone knocked on Rebecca's door. She looked through the peephole but could not see anyone clearly. The hallway light was dim and created shadows. Rebecca thought it might be her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who sometimes needed help with heavy bags. Rebecca made a fatal mistake. She unlocked the door and opened it without using the security chain. Tyler Williams pushed his way inside before Rebecca could react. He was wearing dark clothes and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. Rebecca screamed and tried to run toward the kitchen where she kept a knife in the drawer. But Tyler was bigger and faster. He grabbed her arm and spun her around. Rebecca could smell alcohol on his breath and see madness in his eyes. Tyler started yelling at Rebecca about her plans to move to Arizona. He said she belonged to him and no one else could have her. Tyler accused Rebecca of trying to make him look stupid by running away. His voice was full of rage and hatred. Rebecca tried to reason with Tyler. She told him she just wanted to go to school and build a better life. She promised she would not tell anyone where she was going. Rebecca begged Tyler to let her leave Denver peacefully, but Tyler was beyond reasoning. Months of anger and jealousy had turned him into a monster. He pulled out a black handgun from his jacket pocket. Rebecca had never seen the gun before. She did not know Tyler had bought it 2 weeks earlier. Rebecca backed toward the living room with her hands raised. She told Tyler she loved him and they could work things out. She said she would stay in Denver if that was what he wanted. Rebecca was willing to say anything to stay alive. Tyler laughed at Rebecca's desperate words. He said it was too late for apologies. Tyler told Rebecca she had embarrassed him in front of his friends and family. He blamed her for his arrests and the restraining order. In Tyler's twisted mind, everything was Rebecca's fault. At 9:45 p.m., neighbors heard what sounded like firecrackers or a car backfiring. Mrs. Patterson, who lived next door, was watching television when she heard a woman screaming. Then came a loud crash like furniture falling over. Mrs. Patterson turned down her television and listened carefully. The building was usually quiet on Friday nights. She heard more crashing sounds from Rebecca's apartment. Then everything went silent. Mrs. Patterson felt worried but was afraid to check on her young neighbor. Other neighbors also heard the disturbance. Mr. Johnson, who lived upstairs, called 911 at 9:52 p.m. He told the operator he heard gunshots and screaming from the apartment below him. 3 more neighbors called within the next 5 minutes. Police cars arrived at the apartment building at 10:15 p.m. with sirens blaring and lights flashing. Officers ran up the front steps and found Rebecca's apartment door standing wide open. They called out but heard no response from inside. The first officer to enter the apartment found Rebecca Martinez lying on the living room floor. She had been shot multiple times and was not breathing. Furniture was overturned and her belongings were scattered everywhere. The small apartment looked like a war zone. Tyler Williams was nowhere to be found. His truck was discovered 3 miles away at a gas station. The vehicle was empty except for clothes that had gunpowder residue on them. Tyler had vanished into the night, leaving behind a young woman who would never achieve her dreams of becoming a nurse. Detective Sarah Thompson arrived at the crime scene at 11:30 p.m. on October 18, 2019. She had been a detective for 12 years and had seen many domestic violence cases turn deadly. But the brutality of what happened to Rebecca Martinez shocked even this experienced investigator. Thompson walked through Rebecca's small apartment taking careful notes. The living room showed clear signs of a violent struggle. A coffee table was overturned with broken glass scattered across the floor. Rebecca's nursing textbooks were torn and thrown against the walls. Her dreams of becoming a nurse had died with her. The detective found Rebecca's cell phone under the couch. The screen was cracked, but the phone still worked. Thompson scrolled through recent messages and found dozens of threatening texts from Tyler Williams. The messages painted a clear picture of an obsessed and dangerous man. Crime scene investigators worked through the night collecting evidence. They found fingerprints on the apartment door that belonged to Tyler Williams. Blood spatter on the walls showed that Rebecca had been shot at close range. 3 bullet casings were found near her body. Thompson interviewed Mrs. Patterson and other neighbors who heard the gunshots. Mrs. Patterson said she had seen Tyler Williams lurking around the building several times in recent weeks. She described him as a big, angry man who made her feel uncomfortable when she saw him in the hallways. The detective's first priority was finding Tyler Williams before he could hurt anyone else. She put out an all-points bulletin to every police department in Colorado and neighboring states. Tyler's photograph was sent to airports, bus stations, and train terminals across the region. Thompson learned that Tyler had purchased a 9mm handgun from Rocky Mountain Firearms on October 4, 2019. Store surveillance footage showed Tyler appearing calm and normal during the purchase. He filled out all the paperwork correctly and passed the background check despite his domestic violence arrests. The gun store owner Mike Henderson remembered Tyler because he asked unusual questions about ammunition. Tyler wanted to know which bullets would cause the most damage to a human body. Henderson thought the questions were strange, but Tyler had not broken any laws by asking them. Thompson discovered that Tyler should not have been allowed to buy a gun at all. His recent domestic violence arrests made him a prohibited person under federal law. But the background check system had failed to catch his disqualifying records. Tyler had slipped through a deadly crack in the system. The detective traced Tyler's movements in the days before the murder. Security cameras showed him following Rebecca to work, school, and the grocery store. Tyler had been stalking Rebecca much more extensively than anyone realized. He knew every detail of her daily routine. Thompson found that Tyler had been planning the murder for at least 2 weeks. He had driven by Rebecca's apartment building dozens of times, studying the best ways to get inside. Tyler had even walked through the building pretending to visit other tenants so he could learn the layout. Bank records showed Tyler had withdrawn all his money from his checking account on October 16th. He had also sold his motorcycle and some tools to a pawn shop for cash. Tyler was preparing to run after killing Rebecca. This was not a crime of passion, but a calculated execution. The investigation revealed that Tyler had told his co-worker Dave Murphy about his plans to get revenge on Rebecca. Murphy later told police that Tyler said Rebecca would be sorry for embarrassing him. Murphy thought Tyler was just angry and would calm down. He never imagined Tyler would actually kill anyone. Thompson interviewed Rebecca's family and friends to build a complete picture of the victim. Everyone described Rebecca as a kind, gentle person who loved helping others. She had been excited about starting nursing school and moving to Arizona. Rebecca never hurt anyone in her entire life. Jennifer Martinez told the detective that Rebecca had been afraid Tyler would try to kill her. Rebecca had asked Jennifer to take care of her cat if anything happened to her. She had also given Jennifer important documents like her birth certificate and social security card for safekeeping. The detective learned that Rebecca had contacted a domestic violence shelter about getting help leaving Denver. She had spoken with counselor Linda Adams about relocating to another state. Adams said Rebecca was intelligent and had a good plan for starting over in Arizona. Thompson discovered that Tyler had used multiple social media accounts to harass Rebecca. He created fake profiles with names like Mike Johnson and David Smith to contact her when she blocked his real accounts. Tyler sent Rebecca pictures of dead animals and threatened to do the same thing to her. Phone records showed Tyler had called Rebecca 47 times on the day he killed her. Rebecca did not answer any of the calls. Tyler also sent her 23 text messages, that day becoming more angry and threatening with each one. The final message said "see you soon" and was sent at 8:45 p.m., just minutes before he arrived at her apartment. Thompson found Tyler's truck abandoned at a Shell gas station on Colfax Avenue. The vehicle contained clothes with gunpowder residue, proving Tyler had fired the gun that killed Rebecca. Police also found a notebook with Rebecca's work schedule and apartment address written inside. The detective interviewed Tyler's family members, hoping to find clues about where he might be hiding. Tyler's mother, Carol Williams, said she had not heard from her son since the day of the murder. She seemed genuinely shocked that Tyler could do something so terrible. Tyler's father, Robert Williams, was less cooperative with police. He hired a lawyer and refused to answer questions about his son's whereabouts. Thompson suspected Robert might be helping Tyler hide, but could not prove it without more evidence. The detective coordinated with FBI agents who specialized in tracking fugitives. Tyler's photograph was added to the most wanted list and broadcast on television shows across the country. A reward of $50,000 was offered for information leading to his capture. Tips started pouring in from people who thought they had seen Tyler Williams. Most of the tips led nowhere, but each one had to be investigated. Thompson and her team worked 18-hour days following up on every possible lead. 3 weeks after the murder, Thompson still had no solid leads on Tyler's location. She worried he might have fled to Mexico or another country. But the detective refused to give up. She owed it to Rebecca Martinez to catch her killer and bring him to justice. Thompson kept Rebecca's photograph on her desk as a daily reminder of why this case mattered so much. A beautiful young woman, with her whole life ahead of her, had been murdered by a selfish coward. The detective was determined to make Tyler Williams pay for what he had done. November 8, 2019 was a cold morning in rural Nevada when everything changed in the Rebecca Martinez murder case. Officer Jack Stevens was starting his shift in the small town of Ely, Nevada, population 4,000. He had seen the wanted poster for Tyler Williams many times, but never expected to encounter the fugitive in his quiet desert community. Stevens stopped at Murphy's Diner for his usual coffee and breakfast before beginning patrol. The diner was popular with truck drivers and travelers passing through on Highway 50. Officer Stevens knew most of the regular customers, but lately he had noticed some new faces in town. As Stevens walked into the diner, he immediately spotted a man sitting alone in a corner booth. The man had grown a thick beard and was wearing a baseball cap pulled low over his face. But Stevens recognized the eyes and facial structure from the wanted posters. This was Tyler Williams, the man who had murdered his ex-girlfriend in Denver. Tyler was eating eggs and bacon while reading a local newspaper. He seemed relaxed and comfortable, like he had been living in Ely for weeks. Tyler had no idea that his 3-week run from the law was about to end in this small Nevada town. Officer Stevens calmly walked to the counter and ordered his coffee. He did not want to alert Tyler that he had been recognized. Stevens quietly radioed for backup while pretending to add sugar to his coffee. Within minutes, 2 more patrol cars were heading to the diner. Tyler finished his breakfast and left money on the table. He walked out of the diner without looking at Officer Stevens. Tyler climbed into a rusty pickup truck that he had bought with cash from a local mechanic. He thought he was safe in this remote town where nobody knew his real name. Stevens followed Tyler's truck at a distance while waiting for backup to arrive. Tyler drove slowly through the town center, then turned onto a dirt road leading to the Desert Inn Motel. This was where Tyler had been hiding for the past 2 weeks while working odd jobs under the name Mike Davis. The motel was a rundown place, with 20 rooms and a flickering neon sign. Tyler parked in front of room 14 and walked toward his door carrying a bag of groceries. He had been living quietly in this cheap room while planning his next move. Officer Stevens and 2 other officers surrounded Tyler as he tried to unlock his motel room door. Tyler looked surprised but did not try to run or fight. He raised his hands and allowed the officers to handcuff him without resistance. Tyler's life as a fugitive was over. The arrest was captured on body camera footage that would later shock viewers across the country. Instead of showing fear or remorse, Tyler Williams smiled broadly as the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. He actually seemed happy to be caught after 3 weeks on the run. As officers searched Tyler's motel room, they found disturbing evidence of his time in Nevada. Tyler had newspaper clippings about Rebecca's murder taped to the wall. He had been following news coverage of the case and seemed proud of all the attention his crime was getting. The motel room also contained a journal where Tyler had written about killing Rebecca. He described the murder in graphic detail and showed no regret for taking her life. Tyler wrote that Rebecca deserved to die for trying to leave him. The journal entries revealed a deeply disturbed and narcissistic personality. During the drive to the Ely police station, Tyler chatted casually with officers as if he was being taken to a social event instead of jail. He asked about the weather and commented on the desert scenery. Tyler showed no concern about facing murder charges in Colorado. At the police station, Tyler was processed for extradition back to Denver. During his booking photos, Tyler smiled and laughed like he was posing for a family portrait. The booking officer later said he had never seen a murder suspect act so cheerful during arrest. Tyler asked the booking officer if his mugshot would be on television. He wanted to know if he looked good in the photos. Tyler seemed more concerned about his appearance than the serious charges he was facing. His behavior disturbed even experienced law enforcement officers. When Detective Sarah Thompson arrived in Nevada to interview Tyler, his reaction was even more shocking. Tyler greeted the detective like an old friend and complimented her on solving the case. He acted proud of the extensive investigation his crime had triggered. Thompson tried to get Tyler to confess to murdering Rebecca Martinez, but Tyler just smiled and made jokes about the evidence against him. He referred to Rebecca's death as taking care of business and showed no signs of guilt or remorse. Most disturbing was Tyler's reaction when Detective Thompson showed him crime scene photos of Rebecca's body. Tyler studied the pictures carefully and commented on his accuracy with the handgun. He critiqued his own shooting performance like a marksman reviewing target practice. Tyler told Detective Thompson that Rebecca had brought her death on herself by trying to embarrass him. He said killing her was the only way to restore his reputation and show people he was not weak. Tyler believed he was the victim in this situation, not Rebecca. The interview was recorded and would later be played in court during Tyler's trial. Legal experts said they had rarely seen such a complete lack of empathy from a murder defendant. Tyler seemed to view killing Rebecca as a reasonable solution to his problems. Tyler's defense attorney, Michael Rodriguez, tried to argue that his client was mentally ill and not responsible for his actions. But Tyler's calculated planning and normal behavior after the murder contradicted claims of insanity. He had known exactly what he was doing when he killed Rebecca. During transport back to Colorado, Tyler entertained deputies with stories about his time on the run. He described Nevada as a nice place to visit and joked about working construction jobs under a fake name. Tyler treated the entire experience like an adventure rather than a consequence of murder. Tyler's family members were horrified by his behavior after being captured. His mother, Carol Williams, told reporters she did not recognize the man her son had become. She said the Tyler she raised would never hurt an innocent person like Rebecca Martinez. But those who knew Tyler's true nature were not surprised by his callous reaction to murder. Rebecca's sister, Jennifer, said Tyler had always been a narcissist who cared only about himself. The arrest simply revealed who Tyler Williams really was underneath his fake charm. As Tyler's extradition to Colorado was finalized, he continued to show no remorse for his crimes. He asked jail staff about getting his hair cut before appearing in court. Tyler wanted to look presentable for the television cameras that would cover his trial. The 3-week manhunt for Tyler Williams was over, but the disturbing image of his smiling mugshot would haunt everyone involved in the case. Here was a man who had murdered an innocent woman and felt proud of what he had done. Tyler Williams arrived back in Denver on November 15, 2019 to face charges for murdering Rebecca Martinez. He was held without bond at the Denver County Jail while prosecutors prepared their case. Tyler continued his disturbing behavior even behind bars, asking guards if reporters wanted to interview him about the killing. District Attorney Lisa Chen announced that the state would seek the death penalty against Tyler Williams. The evidence was overwhelming and the crime was particularly heinous. Chen said Tyler had shown a complete lack of remorse that demonstrated his danger to society. Tyler's defense attorney, Michael Rodriguez, entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. Rodriguez argued that Tyler suffered from severe mental illness that prevented him from understanding his actions. But Tyler's own behavior contradicted this defense strategy. The trial began on August 3, 2020, in Jefferson County District Court. Judge Patricia Coleman presided over the proceedings that would determine Tyler's fate. Media coverage was extensive, with reporters from across Colorado covering the case daily. Prosecutor Diana Walsh presented a methodical case against Tyler Williams. She showed the jury evidence of Tyler's stalking behavior leading up to the murder. Security camera footage revealed Tyler following Rebecca to work, school, and home in the weeks before he killed her. The prosecution played recordings of Tyler's threatening voicemails to Rebecca. His voice was calm and menacing as he described what he would do if she tried to leave him. Tyler had promised that Rebecca would never escape his control, and he kept that deadly promise. Walsh showed the jury Tyler's journal entries written while he was hiding in Nevada. Tyler had described killing Rebecca in graphic detail and expressed satisfaction with his crime. The journal proved that Tyler felt no regret about murdering an innocent young woman. Crime scene photos showed the brutal reality of what Tyler did to Rebecca Martinez. The small apartment was destroyed by Tyler's violence. Rebecca's nursing textbooks were scattered and torn, symbolizing her shattered dreams of helping others as a registered nurse. The murder weapon was presented as evidence against Tyler. Ballistics tests confirmed that the bullets found in Rebecca's body came from the handgun Tyler purchased 2 weeks before the killing. Gun store surveillance footage showed Tyler buying the weapon and asking about deadly ammunition. Detective Sarah Thompson testified about Tyler's behavior during his arrest and interrogation. She described how Tyler laughed about the evidence against him and showed no concern for Rebecca's family. Thompson said Tyler treated the murder investigation like a game he had won. The prosecution's star witness was Tyler's former co-worker, Dave Murphy. Murphy testified that Tyler had told him about his plans to get revenge on Rebecca. Tyler said Rebecca would be sorry for leaving him and making him look stupid in front of other people. Rebecca's neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, testified about hearing gunshots and screaming on the night of the murder. She described Tyler as a frightening man who made her uncomfortable when she saw him around the apartment building. Mrs. Patterson said Tyler looked like a predator hunting his prey. Defense attorney Michael Rodriguez tried to portray Tyler as mentally ill and unable to control his actions. Rodriguez called psychiatrist Dr. James Foster, who testified that Tyler showed signs of narcissistic personality disorder and possible psychosis during examination. But prosecutor Diana Walsh destroyed the insanity defense during cross-examination. She showed that Tyler had planned the murder carefully for weeks. Tyler bought a gun, changed his appearance, and prepared to flee after killing Rebecca. These were the actions of a calculating killer, not an insane person. Tyler's own behavior during the trial undermined his defense. He smiled at inappropriate times and seemed to enjoy the attention from media coverage. Tyler took notes during testimony about his crimes and appeared fascinated by his own trial. The most powerful testimony came from Rebecca's family during the victim impact portion of the trial. Rebecca's sister, Jennifer, described a kind, loving woman who wanted to help sick people as a nurse. Jennifer said Tyler had stolen not just Rebecca's life but also her future contributions to the world. Rebecca's mother, Maria Martinez, collapsed while testifying about losing her daughter. Maria said Rebecca was her best friend and brightest light. She described the pain of planning a funeral instead of a nursing school graduation. Maria said Tyler had destroyed their entire family with his selfish violence. Jennifer Martinez showed the court photos of Rebecca as a child and young adult. Rebecca had always been a helper who took care of injured animals and sick relatives. She dreamed of becoming a nurse since elementary school, when she bandaged her dolls and stuffed animals. The defense presented character witnesses who said Tyler had been a good employee and neighbor before the murder. His mother, Carol Williams, testified that Tyler was a loving son who had never shown violence toward women. She begged the jury to spare her son's life, but the prosecution countered with evidence of Tyler's long pattern of controlling and abusive behavior. Former girlfriends testified that Tyler had threatened and stalked them when they tried to end relationships. Tyler had been escalating toward murder for years. After 3 weeks of testimony, the case went to the jury on August 24, 2020. The 12 jurors deliberated for less than 4 hours before reaching their verdict. They found Tyler Williams guilty of first-degree murder with aggravating circumstances. During the penalty phase of the trial, Tyler's lack of remorse sealed his fate. He showed no emotion as victim impact statements were read. Tyler even smirked when Rebecca's mother described finding out about her daughter's death. His coldness shocked everyone in the courtroom. The jury recommended life in prison without the possibility of parole instead of the death penalty. Several jurors later said they could not bring themselves to sentence someone to death, despite Tyler's heinous crimes. They believed life imprisonment was sufficient punishment. Judge Patricia Coleman agreed with the jury's recommendation and sentenced Tyler Williams to life without parole on September 15, 2020. She said Tyler was a dangerous predator who would never be safe to release into society. The judge called Tyler's crimes an act of pure evil. Even during sentencing, Tyler showed no remorse for killing Rebecca Martinez. He smirked and rolled his eyes as the judge described his crimes. Tyler made dismissive gestures toward Rebecca's family members who had traveled from across the country to see justice served. Tyler Williams was transferred to Colorado State Penitentiary, where he remains today. Prison officials say he continues to show no remorse and often brags about his crime to other inmates. Tyler has never expressed regret for destroying Rebecca's life and dreams. Rebecca's family established the Rebecca Martinez Memorial Foundation to help other domestic violence victims escape dangerous relationships. The foundation provides scholarships for women pursuing nursing degrees and funds safe houses for abuse survivors. The case led to changes in Colorado's domestic violence laws and background check procedures for gun purchases. Rebecca's death highlighted dangerous gaps in the system designed to protect abuse victims. Her family hopes these changes will save other lives. Tyler Williams will spend the rest of his life behind bars for murdering Rebecca Martinez, but Rebecca's memory lives on through the foundation that bears her name and the lives it has already saved. Good ultimately triumphed over evil, though the victory came too late for a young woman who deserved so much better.